Hey friends, welcome to my channel. I am so glad that you are here. Today I'm going to show you the one thing that might make me happier than a nice, fresh, empty notebook. And that is a nice, fresh, empty freezer. I inherited this one from my dad. He kept it outside, but it was always plugged in and it was always working up until a week ago whenever I went to pick it up. It still had frozen meatballs and biscuits in it, y'all, so it works. Even though it was kept outside all that time. But now I have made a home for it in my house, and I'm trying to decide how I'm going to use it. So this is actually my second chest freezer, and I also have two side-by-side refrigerators that each have a freezer. And so the first thing I'm going to do, and I would encourage you to do this as well, anytime you get a new freezer, like an additional freezer, that you're not immediately having to fill up with something from a freezer that just died. But if you have a fresh start freezer, use it first as a tool to go through everything that you already have in another freezer, in another space, just so you can finally get to the bottom or the back of that full freezer that you already have, because there's probably some stuff in there that is screaming to get out and be eaten if it's not too late. And it has to be really, really, really old for me to say it's too late, because if I can cook it up and the texture is okay and the smell is okay, I'm okay. I don't care how old something is. As long as, it's been frozen. Some things degrade, not everything. So anyway, to each his own. You do what feels right for you. So I want to give you some other ideas of ways that you can, or I kind of am planning on using mine. Now, right now, I haven't decided yet because there are so many options. I wrote some down, y'all, because that's how bad I am. I was afraid I was going to forget some of them. But one of the things that I definitely want to use this freezer for is for freezing our extreme abundance of eggs. You know, I do other things to preserve eggs, but one thing that I've really been limited on as far as space is freezing them. And so this is going to be a freezer that is going to have quite a few frozen eggs in it. Now, if you're going to freeze eggs, you have to scramble them first or separate the whites from the yolks. I don't know how well the yolks freeze on their own, but if you're going to freeze them like in muffin cups, you need to give them a little scramble first. And so that's one thing that this is definitely going to be used for, probably. I say probably because one of our refrigerators, the refrigerator downstairs, which is just down 2 steps, I call it downstairs, the refrigerator down there on the back porch inside a sunroom, that refrigerator is full of eggs as they come in. And so it might make more sense just to put the frozen eggs back there too, but I just haven't decided yet. But first we're going to have to empty that freezer to even have room to put the eggs down there. And so one of the other ways, because of that freezer, one of the other ways that I'm looking at utilizing this freezer to begin with, besides adding the abundance of eggs, and that may be a video for tomorrow as far as going through all of the eggs and either freezing them or dehydrating or whatever I do with my eggs to preserve them. But to put fruit, all of the fruit that we have, like we have frozen berries mostly, but there are frozen fruit and vegetables, and so they may go in here. And speaking of that, if y'all don't know, I have been carnivore plus coffee for a while, and then I quit coffee for a while, and I'm thinking possibly, I'm mulling it around, going keto or ketovore until some of these berries are used up, because I'm the main one that uses berries, and I've even got some like sugar-free and low sugar jams up there that I'm the only one that's going to have them. So anyway, so that may be in my future, but I was thinking about having berries here, and maybe this could be more of a keto freezer that has my berries and maybe nuts that need to stay cold to keep from going rancid. And then in the freezer, chest freezer in my kitchen, maybe I'll just keep all of my meats in that freezer. And so that would be a specifically meat freezer. But again, before I go there, I may use this freezer to put some of the top meats in so that I can get out the meats that are down in the bottom that haven't been using because they're too hard to get to. Because, you know, you always pick off the top, right? I know we have, and that's not necessarily the best way to do it because then you end up with things getting really old on the bottom. And one of the other things that I've thought about putting in here are those things that I'm actively working on, like working to pressure can. There are some meats that I want to pressure can. I have a ham from, I think, maybe Easter. I have a ham that was on sale. I always buy things on sale. And I have that ham that I was going to cut up and put in some beans that I'm going to pressure can. Now, here is the reason that I can beans, even though I cannot or do not, I choose not to eat them. Number one, when times get hard, that's a good source of protein. It's also a good source of carbs, and it will keep us from going hungry. And it's also a food that my mom enjoys. And so I can take her some beans and cornbread over at the nursing home. And so there are reasons and that I want to and will can beans. There are also holiday beans, baked beans that I make that I have a recipe for that I have decided I'm going to start canning. And that way at holiday time, I can just crack open a couple of jars and I don't have to worry about mixing everything up and all that before we go over. And I can just relax the morning of our party and not have to spend my morning stressing out over, will my beans be done? So anyway, another thing that I've thought about using this new refrigerator for, or freezer for, is for prepping full meals like casseroles. We don't really eat a lot of casseroles, but we do eat things like roasts that I can put together. And we do eat things like chicken pot pie. I can make pies ahead of time and freeze. I can make sweet potato casserole ahead of time and freeze. All of the things that, and even stuffing, dressing, whatever you call it. Do you call it stuffing or do you call it dressing? Let me know in the comments. We are dressing here. We are not stuffing. My husband is a stuffing. We are a dressing. But you can make that ahead of time and freeze it. I'm also doing sourdough now for my kids, and the size of the batches that I cook, depending on what the recipe is, they may need to be frozen while they're going. Like if I make a double batch of bread, I can put the bread they're not eating in the freezer while they eat the first loaf. Now, if it's the scones, y'all, they didn't even last 12 hours. They didn't even last 12 hours. Everybody loved those chocolate chip scones that were on, I guess, was that yesterday's video? They were a big hit. So anyway, you know, breakfast items, sandwiches. I used to make my husband English muffin, like an English McMuffin with like sausage and cheese and egg, and I would make those up and put them in the freezer. But what ended up happening is I just didn't have enough room in my freezer. And so those are some more ideas that I'm going to keep in this. And I even thought about having one freezer dedicated to breakfast, one lunch, one supper. The refrigerator in our kitchen that has the freezer, that freezer is probably going to be primarily lunch stuff, especially for my boys. They tend to, like, they're more like processed foods, like they do chicken patties and have chicken sandwiches. And so those types of things, French fries, tater tots, that type of stuff, may be mostly in that, but there's still a whole lot more room in that freezer. And so we just have to wait and see, because I'm really excited, but I still have to think about it a little bit. And let me know, if you had a brand new freezer, what would you put in it? How would you separate out your freezers if you had 2 or 3 or 4? You may have more than that. How do you separate them out? What do you like to keep separate? Now, one of the things that we've always talked about, but we never had the freezer space, was buying like a half a cow. Now, I don't know that a half a cow would fit in this. Maybe a deer would probably fit in this, but I don't know about half a cow. But we've always talked about it, so maybe we can pare down enough that we could, between this one and maybe some of the other space we have, get that half a cow that we've been. Of course, y'all, things are getting so expensive, and if we would have, I tell him, if we would have bought that half a cow a year ago or 2 years ago, it would have been a lot cheaper. But anywho, so this is kind of the plan for now. Let me look through, make sure I didn't skip any ideas, y'all, because like I said, I'm just like, oh my goodness, I have so many things, so many thoughts and plans. Do y'all ever get big dreams and big ideas and you're just beside yourself with excitement? That's me right now. So it looks like, yeah, I think I have finished everything. And I've thought about maybe just keeping my fish and my chicken in here, because me and the boys like fish and chicken, and my husband doesn't like fish and chicken. And the sourdough stuff, yeah, I think I have listed everything. And you know, one of the things I really want to work on building up is having like casseroles ready to go, meals like in those little aluminum pan things. They're ready to go, so that whether we're just busy and we don't feel like cooking and we can just take it out and put it in the oven, or if there's somebody that can use a meal, maybe somebody just had a baby or someone just passed away, and you have something that you can just take out, pop in the oven, cook it, and take it to them, or just give it to them to put in their freezer so that they have something convenient when they feel like it. So those are, and see, if y'all have not seen that, I have another channel called Jen Frank. That's my name, Jen Frank, a hot mess on a mission, because I'm a hot mess there too. But my mission there is I'm in hot pursuit of grace and truth on that channel. And so it's Bible studies. I have my own Bible study method that there is a video called the Mission Method. It's something, the Mission Method, and that is my method for diving deep into scripture whenever I'm studying the Bible. And so anyway, but I also talk there about the importance of walking the walk and helping others. And that's one of those things, when you stock your freezer, you're putting yourself in a position of being able to help those who may be in need. And so on that note, I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, y'all.